Okay, woodworkers. Well, I lied. I didn't cut one piece here. I just stacked up a bunch of pieces here in various thicknesses to get the alignment to where it is I want to be. The other thing that I did was I used blue tape here, and you'll see the reason for this, but in essence it's going to be very close to impossible to read this if I were to just mark up this Bubinga with a regular pencil and then a white pencil. If I were to use a white pencil, I could see it better, but it's going to be way too thick to really create accurate dovetail layout lines. So the blue tape here, and you'll see kind of carving and paring away that stuff so I know where I need to cut. Alright, so now that I have the support material, this block, as I mentioned, this face is perfectly aligned with the inside shoulder of my full tail depth. So this starts to feel a lot better and more accurate, which is exactly what I'm going for here. So this is probably enough, and I can get in here and start laying these things out. But one more piece to really lock this in is I'm going to clamp these boards together. And I guess technically I only need to do one, but I'm very thorough. Okay. Perfect. That feels great. That edge looks good. Okay. So in some of these tails, there's not enough clearance for me to get this tool all the way in. I can probably get back in here, no problem, but I can't easily come all the way out of the front of this mark with this tool. So I'm going to go with a thinner blade for my marking knife, and with this I'll be able to come in. Same rules apply for laying out these dovetails as any. Just going to start scoring these things across, referencing off of the inside section of these tails, known as the cheeks. And with this smaller knife in these tighter areas, oops, don't do that, I can come in here and really start getting a good knife line into this area. Cool. Alright, so done with that. Getting rid of this business after all that setup. Basically done with all that I've done there. Alright, so hopefully this, I don't know if you can see these things, but you should be able to see. Yeah, perfect. See the distinction of these little lines here and here. So basically I've cut through the tape, and with that done, I'll be able to come in, transferring those locations to where they need to be, and then start removing the tape accordingly. Alright. Great. And then just go straight down. So, for those of you that have worked with Bubinga, you probably know this all too well. It only takes one experience to know what you're getting into. For those of you that have not worked with Bubinga, be warned, it is not kind nor gentle, nor does it care how much you hate sharpening and resharpening tools. It mocks you, the woodworker. It laughs at the quality of your steel, regardless of where you've purchased it, how much you purchased it for, how much effort and care you've used to make these coveted tools sharp. It's going to make short work of it. So just know that if you're doing a job and the customer requests Bubinga to charge for not just overhead, not just time, not labor, so on and so forth, but factor in at least 2 or 3 resharpening sessions. Alright, so now I have that. There's my marking gauge. I'm going to make one more mark and then I'll turn off the camera and get to it. Alright, so transferring the thickness of my tailboard to this. Alright, great. So the waste pieces are going to be where these little pins, I need to leave those little pins there. The waste is the larger tail sections of all of this. So being aware of that, I need to start clearing off this material. Oops, I didn't go deep enough here. Make sure that follows to my shoulder line. Cool. Alright, so the waste piece is what I want to remove. There's basically 2 ways I could do this. I could leave the part of the tape on that I want to save, or the part that is on the waste side. I'm going to remove the waste side piece. And I've also taped the back of this face to make sure that I have marks everywhere that are going to be high visibility. And the reason that I'm taking off, removing the waste piece, is that I'm trying to avoid introducing my saw or cutting into the tape with my saw. So by leaving these pieces in place, I could bring the saw just to the outside of the tape, left or right, and then bring it right to that, and so barely touching the tape without actually cutting through it. If I had left the opposite, so remove the pin part that I wanted to keep, the temptation would be to overcut and to make these these pins smaller than they need to be. So I think this keeps me honest, but you can tell this is much easier to see. The knife lines are still in there, so if I do need to do any paring, especially on the shoulder lines, I'll be able to get my saw cuts to where I want them, and then on the shoulders, that blue tape is just going to be a visual reminder of where not to go. So, alright, I'm going to continue removing this tape. I don't want, and then transferring these lines to the back, and I don't want to bore you by doing that while we're filming. The last thing I'm going to say is that when it's time to cut this board out, there's no reason at all that I can't just leave it in the Moxon vise. This is kind of a perfect opportunity here to leave it in place and be able to do my cuts here in place. If I don't do this, then I have the same problem that I had when we started recording, that I have to find a place to hold this work while I'm sawing. And since these are going to be done by hand, I don't want to, this is the best way to do it. So, alright, hopefully that was helpful. See you.